Hey, it's Jennifer Jones. Friends call me JJ. This platform is designed for a new leader that wants to become a great leader in the modern workplace. Over the last 15 years, I've learned valuable lessons that I want to share with you to get you there ASAP. When the leader gets better, we all get better. It's Monday again. Welcome to the Virtual Leadership Coffee Chat. If you don't already have it, go grab that cup of coffee, maybe that cup of tea. If it's a little late at night and you want a glass of wine, it's all right with me. You can always push pause. Let's go. Welcome back. We are working on transitioning your priorities into actual deliverables. We've talked about the problem that you need to solve. We then talked about how do you understand and articulate the current state of the union. And we ended off last week talking about having clear and specific goals that drive success of the plan. So the next section is what I like to call is root cause analysis. Okay? How do you really articulate the gap between what's happening today and what your goal is for tomorrow? This is one area, and I've been leveraging this process with my team for a while, where I actually think we skip over probably faster than we should. And I think it's important because this, in my opinion, is the crux to identifying the recommendations and ultimately focusing our tactics, our effort, our work towards this particular priority to drive success. Oftentimes, when we have a scenario where we have a priority, we already have a preconceived notion of what we want to go do. But this stuff really challenges you to say, do I really understand why we're not seeing what we expect to see in this particular scenario? So as a reminder, we're trying to grow revenue of Mario Kart. And in this particular point, you want to ask the question, why? Why are we not seeing the success that we'd like to see? So again, if we are currently at a 30% market penetration rate and we want to get to 50, what is standing in our way? And this requires, one, an understanding of the customer. This requires an understanding of the process. This requires an understanding of the gaps. You have to take the time to really dive into the root cause, okay? And so part of that is what I like to call asking a lot of questions out of curiosity. Many times we have I guess, as I said earlier, our preconceived notions of why, but this is the time for you to challenge your employee or the learner to really dig into with conviction what the why is. So you don't want to you don't want to have a long list of root causes because you can't solve them all. But you really want to focus in on those one or two or three areas that really are driving the gap in performance. So for example, with the Mario Kart example, we may want to start with the user, right? Why are users not buying Mario Kart? Maybe there's an adjacent game that we think is a great customer base that would be a great target for the solution. How do we go and spend time with that customer to understand why Mario Kart is not an option for them or not a choice for them? So you really want to spend time understanding the why. Why are they not choosing it? And when you get to that point, you might understand it might be, hey, this is just not the type of graphics we like, or the price point is too high, or it's kind of more of the same in the Mario world. It's not that unique. You'll get a lot of insight there. Or it might be a matter of like, wow, I didn't even know it exists. But in this section, you want to take time to understand why there's a gap. And again, a lot of times when we give folks priorities, they want to jump to doing something so they can feel like they're making progress. But this is a very important step in the doing, really understanding the root cause. So out of that learning, right, now you have an opportunity for recommendations because you now understand the two or three areas that are gaps in performance, and you can begin to think about all the ways that you can solve those problems. This is another area that I think you want to spend time really ideating around solutions, okay? One of the things that I realized, especially since the pandemic, is that many of the marketers, especially in the med device world, kind of would pull out their typical bag of tricks, right? So if we're going to launch a new product, we're going to, create a brochure, we're going to add another video to the website, and we're going to put together a training packet for the reps. and we stop that wash, rinse, repeat. But really what I really have been challenging my organization to do is how do we think differently? How do we think beyond what we've always done? What's the list of things? How do you just sit in a room and crowdsource a number of ideas and we can pick from those and try new things? Because again, if you want to get different results, you have to do something different. And so, in that step, when you've understood why, again, that analysis section, the root cause of the problem, now that you understand the root cause and now you want to identify recommendations for solutions, you want to give yourself a lot of options to go and vet out. Here are the 4 or 5 things we could go do, right? And then from there, identify ways to weigh one of those recommendations against the other. As a reminder, you want to keep your list of things you're going to go do tight. I often look at these plans and say we shouldn't have more than 1 or 2 recommendations of key things we want to get done because, again, we want to make rapid movement. We want to learn as fast as we can so we can drive improvement. Because every time we experiment, and even if we experiment and fail, we're still experimenting our way forward. And I think that's really important. So again, take the time to really dig into why is there a gap between what you're seeing today and what you want to see. Take the time to really understand that. And then once you get there and you identify those gaps, then crowdsource, do a great brainstorming session to pick a number of things you could go do that can help to solve those problems or close those gaps. And then ultimately have a way in which you can pick 2 or 3 or 1 or 2 of those ideas out of that pool of ideas that you can begin to go do the work, fail forward, and drive improvement to your plan and get closer to executing a deliverable here. Until next week, I'll talk about plan development, ultimately how you as a manager can follow up and manage your employees' work. Until next week, thanks.
Yeah, because I just want to find